Rabbit and the Moon. Once, long ago in the morning of the world, there was a rabbit. He was like most other rabbits except for one thing. He had a dream. It was the sort of dream that will not go away. It is there when you are awake. It is there when you are asleep and awake, and tugs at you even when you are trying to think of something else. The dream that tugged at Rabbit tugged so hard it made his ears wiggle and his nose twitch. Was the dream of riding upon the moon at night, far above the earth. Rabbit had always known the earth from very near. His nose knew the scents of leaves and mushrooms and fresh green grass. His ears knew the sounds of Brother Mouse rustling and crickets singing. But the rabbit's eyes longed to see the earth from high above, to see the darkness of the forest and the sparkling of the waters. Rabbit had always known the moon from far away. It drew close only in the reflecting pool where he drank at night. He longed to see how bright it truly was and how it slipped past the stars as it crossed the sky. It will be the greatest image to ride the shining moon among the stars and to see the beauty of the earth below. So Rabbit watched the moon. He watched it when it dangled like a bear's claw over the spruces, watched it when it shone with only half of its light, just like a mushroom's cap, and watched when it hung as round and old and full of old porcupine's belly. He watched it rise up in the evening over the eastern edge of the world. He watched as the moon climbed above him and moved across the night sky. Rabbit watched the moon until the sun filled the sky with light, and he could see the moon no longer. And Rabbit thought to himself, if I go to the edge of the world where the moon first comes up, I will be able to catch a hold of it as it rises. So Rabbit went to the place where he had seen the moon come up. When it began to rise, big and round and yellow, Rabbit reached out to catch it. He couldn't reach it. He jumped as high as he could jump. Still he couldn't reach it. But Rabbit did not give up. Tomorrow night I will climb to the top of the highest hill, said Rabbit. Sure, I'll be able to reach the moon from there. The next evening, Rabbit waited on top of the highest hill so he could find. He waited on the highest hill he could find, and as the moon began to rise, he stretched out to touch it. It was too far away. He jumped and jumped. The moon rose higher still, and Rabbit could not reach it. But Rabbit did not give up. The only way I am going to reach the moon, Rabbit said, is to fly there. Now, in those long ago times, rabbits were not very good flyers. So the next morning, Rabbit said, Sister Eagle, I would like to ride on the moon, but I cannot reach it. Will you take me there? No, said Eagle. I cannot take you to the moon. It is too far, and I am too busy. Rabbit found Red-tailed Hawk. Brother Hawk, can you carry me to the moon? Asked Rabbit. No, said Hawk. I have more important things to do. I cannot take you. Rabbit went to Owl and Snow Goose and Heron and Osprey and Pelican. But none of the great birds would carry him to the moon. Still, Rabbit did not give up. Instead, he went to the small birds, Chickadee and Nuthatch and Song Sparrow, Brown Creeper and Kinglet, and all the tiny birds of the forest. Perhaps together they could carry him to the moon. But the small birds only laughed. We can't take you to the moon, they said. You are too big, and the moon is too far away. Rabbit went away by himself, and he sat very still. His ears drooped, his nose barely twitched at all. As hard as he had tried, he could not find a way to reach the moon. For the first time, he was ready to give up. Then Rabbit heard a voice behind him. I will carry you to the moon, Rabbit. Rabbit jumped with surprise. He turned around and saw that there was one great flying bird that he had forgotten to ask. Crane. Crane had noticed how hard Rabbit had tried to reach his dream, how bravely he had struggled. Crane remembered his own dream of learning to fly and how others had helped. He decided he would help Rabbit. Crane said, Meet me tomorrow on top of the high hill, Rabbit, and I will fly you to the moon. So the next day, Rabbit was so excited that he was waiting on top of the hill by noontime. He waited and waited as the sun moved slowly across the sky. Finally, just as the sun slipped down in the west and the moon rose in the east, Crane swooped in on his great wings. Hold tight to my legs, Rabbit, said Crane, and I will carry you to the moon. Rabbit held on tight, as tight as he could, and Crane began to rise into the sky. Rabbit was very heavy, and it was hard for Crane to carry him. But he flapped his great wings, and slowly they climbed higher and higher. Once Rabbit looked down at the earth, now small and far away. He felt a lump in his throat. He closed his eyes and held on even tighter. Rabbit's paws hurt. It was hard to hold on, but Rabbit did not give up. Look at him fly right across the sky. Finally, Rabbit felt something under his hind feet. "It's all right, Rabbit," said Crane. "We are on the moon. You can let go of my legs now." Slowly, Rabbit let go. His paws were stiff and sore and tinged with red blood. But as he opened his eyes wide, he began to look around. He forgot how sore his paws were, for what Rabbit saw was even more grand than what he had dreamed. The star glows like fireflies in a summer meadow. So close he could almost touch them, and he could see all the earth below, green and blue and beautiful, with white clouds billowing in the skies and great waters cradling the land. Rabbit filled up his eyes with the beauty of the earth and tried hard to keep his ears from trembling. Oh, goodness. He finally made it. "Thank you, Rabbit. Thank you, Brother Crane," said Rabbit. Then he reached out his paw and he placed it gently on Crane's head. "This is my gift to you," he said. "From now on you will always bear a bright red headdress." And so it was. Under Rabbit's paw, Crane's forehead became stained with red. Oh, awesome. Awesome sauce. Look. Oh, isn't he beautiful? Then Crane noticed that he had felt a little strange. His head did not hurt. His stomach felt good. His wings still worked. But his legs! Before his journey to the moon, Crane's legs were like those of the other birds, just the right size to carry him about. But now Crane's legs were long and thin and stretched out from carrying Rabbit to the moon. Look at that. Awesome. He's really tall now. As soon as it is today, Crane still walks on stretched out legs, much longer than the legs of the other birds. He is tall and proud, and he is still wearing a red headdress. And Rabbit? Some night, when the moon is round and full, like old Porcupine's belly, look very closely, for you can still see Rabbit there, riding across the night sky. The end.